Hi, Kim with Provectus Group, and we are here at the Glock Factory range in Smyrna, Georgia to talk about this Gen 5 Glock 17. Now, the purpose of the video is for this. Number one, we're going to dispel some of the rumors and misinformation that's been spread through print, YouTube, word of mouth, your buddy telling you, this and that and this. We're going to dispel some of that. We're going to talk about all the new features of the Generation 5. Then we're going to talk about something that a lot of people have been asking me about, and what's backwards compatible. What can I take from the Generation 5 and put in my Gen 4, Gen 3, Gen 2? So that's what we're going to do. You guys stay tuned. All right, so we're looking specifically at this slide here, and let's talk about some of the differences. Right here with the sights, we're going to start there. The little notch there is a little bit wider. Also, if you look at the white area there, it's a little thinner profile. The front sight looks to me to be about the same. Next, let's talk about the slide, and let's talk about this new coating. It's the NDLC coating, and it stands for nitration diamond-like carbon. Basically, it is just supposed to be a much tougher finish so that you get more longevity out of the slide itself. So let me show you my Gen 4 Glock 17 slide so you can see the difference. If you look right here on the front of my slide, you can see how it's worn, and you can see where the shiny metal is coming through, and that's from holstering and doing things, just using the gun. That gun has probably close to 30,000 rounds through it, so it's seen a lot and still holding up great, I might say. But anyway, so we talked about the sights, we talked about the new NDLC coating. Let's look around the front here. So if you look around the front, you see that it has a beveled front edge. It's to aid in reholstering of the gun, especially for the law enforcement guys out there, military guys as well. There are some times where we actually have to get the gun in the holster quickly before we can put our hands on the suspect. So let's talk about the recoil spring. Now, this is something that's very important for you to understand. We're going to talk specifically about the Glock 17 as well. On the Glock 17, it's a thicker nose ring. So the actual recoil spring for the Glock 17 on a Gen 5 Glock is dedicated to the Glock 17. It is not interchangeable to a Generation 4 Glock 17. So that's very important to understand. Now with the 19, you can take a Generation 5 Glock 19 recoil spring and it will work in a Generation 4 Glock 19. So make sure that you understand that. And the reason why is because on the Glock 17 slide, this nose ring right here is thicker, so they had to make some modifications to the recoil spring itself. All right, next, let's talk about the barrel itself. This is called their GMB, or Glock Marksman barrel. Now, there are some differences, and let's go through it. But before we do that, I want to kind of disprove some of the things that you might have heard. I've heard some people in some videos talk about how the Gen 4 and earlier Glocks had polygonal rifling, and now they're gone to a hexagonal rifling. That is not true. They have always been hexagonal rifling, so that's kind of important. We're going to talk about the recessed crown here. So the crown of the barrel is recessed. With the actual rifling of the barrel, I've seen some videos where they've talked about maybe Glock has went to a more traditional rifling, and that is also not true. This barrel is still cold hammer forged, okay? Basically what they've done is they went to a different mandrel, and what that's done, and if you look at the rifling, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it in this video, but it does look a little bit different than the rifling of the Gen 4. But basically what they've done by switching to the different mandrel, it has made the tolerances of the barrel where it comes in contact with the actual bullet as it's traveling down the barrel is a little bit tighter. They're claiming sub 4-inch groups at 50 yards, sub 2-inch groups at 25 yards. And to be honest with you, Glock barrels, especially the ones in the Gen 4, they've always been a pretty accurate barrel. So I'm really excited to see the difference between this one and my Gen 4. But that's pretty much it for the outside of the slide. If we look on the inside, when you look at the your firing pin safety here, or we call it the plunger, it's a little bit different, very similar to the 43. And also there is a difference in the firing pin itself. Okay guys, let's move to the frame. Now, a lot of people are excited about this for the obvious reasons of the ambidextrous slide stop lever. but and I am too. So again, with the Generation 5, just like all the other videos, the slide stop levers are now ambidextrous. So for you left-hand shooters out there, Glock is showing you some love. I'm gonna kind of just work through this frame because they've done quite a few things. If you notice, it's only a 2-pin frame. Now, they went away from the 3-pin like you saw on the Generation 4, and the reason why they went away from the 3-pin is because a 9mm just doesn't need it. The reason why they went to a 3-pin from the get-go is because of the 40 caliber pistol. So that's the reason why they went back to a 2-pin. Let's see what else here. We come down here to the magazine catch. It is the same magazine catch as the Generation 4. This is reversible, so you can take this out and you can install it the opposite way, and now your left-hand shooters can activate the magazine catch from the right side of the pistol. Let's see, no finger grooves. So people love this, all right, and I do too. I haven't really found a really good explanation on why taking the finger grooves can help you, so I'm going to explain it to you and explain how removing the finger grooves helped me. If you imagine if there are finger grooves that were here, when you go to extract the gun from your holster and you're trying to do it quickly, if your fingers don't fall directly in those finger grooves where they're supposed to go or intended to go, subconsciously you'll start to slow down on your draw so that you can now adjust where your fingers are and have that nice dominant grip that we want. From my experience, when I removed my finger grooves, I was now able to just reach down and grab the weapon. My fingers just fall naturally where they need to be. It's comfortable, and most importantly, it's something that I can do consistently. When I have the finger grooves on there and I don't get exactly where I need to go, I'm subconsciously trying to adjust and do all that kind of stuff. And when milliseconds count, when your life is on the line, it's kind of important. So for me, that's how removing the finger grooves helped me. Hopefully that might help you. So they removed the finger grooves. As we come around the front here, you see this nice little notch here. What that's for, so you can get in there and actually rip that magazine out. Malfunctions do happen, and sometimes we have to extract the magazine from the gun, and we have to do it with some force. So Glock has helped us out here. They put this nice notch in here. We're able to get our finger in, and I'm going to grab a magazine and show you that. So when the magazine is in the gun, I'm able to get in here, get in this space, and now I can rip the magazine out. So they removed the finger grooves, put that notch in here. If you can see it from here, the magwell is actually flared now. So you have a flared magwell. It's probably easier to see from that angle there. And it is basically to aid in reloads, all right? So it is a flared magwell, but also on the inside, what I do like is that this is nice and smooth and beveled. I don't know if they made this a little smoother on purpose, but to me it feels a little nice. It feels nice and smooth inside of here. So as far as getting that magazine in, especially when you don't come in exactly perfect, is there to aid you in getting the end of this magazine past this magazine well here. So aiding in your reloads. So you have the flared magwell. Still has the same back straps like you're gonna find on a Generation 4 Glock. So you still have your medium and your large, and I do like that. Okay, so the next thing is the actual grip texture is the exact same grip texture that they had on the Generation 4. Some people like that, so that's good information to know. The next thing is the actual rail that you see the Surefire attached on is now a little bit wider. The groove that goes across is now 1913 Picatinny. So I'm sure that might help some of you guys as well. All right, so let's move away from the frame. Let's talk again about this magazine. Now, when we look at this magazine, you can see that the base plate looks like it's a little extended, and it is. Like we were talking about earlier, Glock put this notch in here so we can get in there and actually rip it out. But also for some of the advanced shooters or people that have some advanced skills, sometimes we have to, or we attempt to grip the base plate of the magazine on our belt or on your pocket or on anything, so you can kind of use that as a leverage or something to actually grip this magazine and pull it out. So what Glock has done is they have extended this lip out a little bit. to help aid with that. Now, if you're wondering, yes, you can take this base plate and put it on earlier generation Glocks. So you can take this base plate and put it on your 17, that's a Gen 4, and your 19, that's a Gen 4. But I will put this disclaimer out there. If you have a Glock 26, this extended base plate will not work on the Glock 26, and that's because of the design of the frame on the Glock 26. It kind of flares out right here to aid with your hand. So because of that flared out area, it will not allow the magazine to seat all the way in properly. All right, so next part of this video, we're gonna talk about something that I know is very important to you guys, and that is what on this Generation 5 pistol will work on my Generation 4. So we're gonna talk about all the things that you can carry over or that are backwards compatible to the Generation 4. So we're gonna start with the magazine catch. This magazine catch is backwards compatible to the Glock 17. The magazine catch spring is also backwards compatible to the Generation 4. All right, the next thing that is backwards compatible is the actual connector in the trigger system. It is backwards compatible to the Generation 4. The next thing that is backwards compatible is the actual sights that are on the gun. They will work for your Generation 4 and earlier as well. The next thing that is backwards compatible is the firing pin sleeve, the firing pin spring, and the firing pin cups. Again, the actual firing pin itself is not backwards compatible. It is a completely different design. All right, the next thing that is backwards compatible are the magazines. So this is the obvious Generation 5 magazine. Of course, it's gonna work. This is an ETS from the Gen 4. It works. And a Magwell mag from a Gen 4, and this Magwell mag is definitely beat up. So as long as your magazines are functioning properly, they will work in the Generation 5 pistol. All right, guys, so let's go and shoot this thing and let's see what we think. Okay, so from a first impression, first time pulling this trigger, I want to say that it feels like less felt or perceived recoil, number one. It's definitely much easier for me to get the sights back on target because like we teach in the courses, those follow-up shots are the ones that are the most important. But I want to say that it feels like a lot less recoil. The trigger feels a lot smoother and more effortless. I would venture to say that from a greater distance, you could have a little better accuracy. The wall is still very pronounced like we're used to, but the trigger itself, it doesn't feel mushy. It feels smooth, if that kind of makes sense. Let's run some more rounds through it. I like that. Very nice. That was cool. Not gonna be the best group in the world. It shouldn't be the worst. Looks pretty good so far, especially for that cadence. About 15 yards. Good for the stock sights. So that's it. I'm happy with that. Definitely, if I, utilize more of my fundamentals, probably be a little bit better. But that's impressive, guys. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this. As always, if you have any comments or questions, put them in the comment section below. I will do my best to answer them. You can find us on all social medias at Provectus Group. And remember, in all that you do, be unstoppable.